It's finally time to say goodbye to 2023, and it has been a very interesting year for me. I've decided to do a little recap video just to kind of reflect on the year I've had, because a lot has happened and I'm happy about it for the most part, and I want to share that with you guys. I'm going to talk about just my art year in general, how much I've actually done, how that's affected my social media. I'll talk a bit more about that. Life stuff. There's a lot of changes that have happened, and pretty much my plans for 2024. So back in February or March, I can't quite remember which month it was, I made a video about how I had quit my career and how I would be focusing on my art and trying to make it as an artist. And during that video, it's quite funny now when I think about it, because I was so nervous making that video because I was scared thinking about the future, even though I was confident that I was going to work hard. But anyway, when I was talking in that video, I did set myself some goals. I just want to think about those goals now, because now that I'm here at the end of the year, I think that I have achieved most of them. I think my main goals were to get myself outside of my comfort zone and to start gaining confidence. And I feel like there was a lot of emphasis placed on confidence because, as I've discussed in many videos, I am an introvert and I struggle a lot with kind of putting myself out there. So it was really important for me this year to find a way to overcome that, because when you decide that art is now going to be your career and your business, that falls completely on you, and you kind of have to market it and sell it, and you need a lot of confidence to do that. So it was very important for me to find a way to work on that. And I think using YouTube in my mind is really going to help me, because to capture an audience, you kind of have to be a bit more interesting. So I have done a lot, I think, this year in terms of making videos. And I don't just mean YouTube videos, like long form videos. I have done quite a lot of those. I had a quick look at my stats, and I've done approximately 34 long form YouTube videos, which is actually quite a lot considering they are time consuming, like so time consuming. Some of them were tutorials and, just some fun stuff, maybe a couple of time lapses and compilations, but 34 videos is quite a lot. But I think the more interesting thing is I've created approximately 200 or more short videos, which is a lot of videos. I talk about long form videos being tough to make, but even reels or shorts, they take a lot of time too. But not just that, you have to overcome the fear of, you don't even have to be on camera to have this fear. It's the fear of performance, because when I start recording myself drawing, and I feel like a lot of people feel this too, sometimes it feels like you've completely forgotten how to draw, because people are going to eventually watch it, and you start getting really scared about all silly little mistakes that you might make, which just, it's not really important in the grand scheme of things. But in that moment when you think this is going out to an audience, it has to be my best, that's when you're going to not be able to draw anymore. So after about 200 videos, it becomes pretty, let's just say it doesn't become something you start thinking about anymore, because you're just way past that. And I'm so glad that I've done that. I'm so glad I've put all the effort into making those videos, because it's definitely also significantly helped all of my social media and all my platforms, because I've also noticed a huge growth across all of my platforms, and I'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, the confidence has definitely increased, and even me just talking like this, there's no script, I'm just talking to you as it is. I would not have really been able to do that let's say a year ago, I would have been terrified. So I think I can check that box. I can give it a tick because I definitely feel I've become more confident in myself as a person, and I've become more confident in the art that I create because I'm creating the stuff that I just love to draw. And the fact that people love it too kind of really bolsters that confidence in myself. It's kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It just feels really, really good, and I'm really happy about it. Another goal of mine was to improve my art. Now, I guess that's completely subjective, but I feel really good about my art this year. I have definitely created more art this year than I have ever made in any of my past years. I've made approximately, I would say, maybe 50 to 60 digital art pieces, and I don't know, maybe 70 sketchbook spreads, like entire spreads, which is quite a lot considering that I've also been making videos on top of that, and I'm a stay-at-home mum, so life is very busy too. So I really think that I have done so much art that, I had no choice but to improve. I don't know, does that sound weird? I don't know if it does or not, but I know if I look back on my art now from, let's say, last year, I can definitely see where I've improved, where, I've picked up little tips and tricks along the way. I've been researching, I look at other artists, I've been putting a lot of time into improving my techniques. It's not just blindly just drawing every day and hoping that there's improvement, because, practice without purpose doesn't necessarily mean you'll improve. So I really had to focus and narrow in on the things that I needed to improve. And I think I've done that too. Because my goal this year was obviously to improve, but also don't put myself in a position where I'm putting too much stress on myself, because that's normally when art block will hit. And I'm touching wood right now because I don't want to jinx myself, but I have not suffered art block this year at all. I mean, there were tiny moments where I felt like it might creep up on me because I had little wobbles where I felt, I don't know what I'm going to do or draw today, but it never actually manifested into art block. So that's never happened before, ever. And I'm genuinely shocked by it, because the past couple of years, art block has been one of the worst afflictions to my art hobby. And there were times where I would take, maybe a couple of months break because I just couldn't draw. And there was a time where I took an entire year off because I had just lost so much motivation, and the thought of drawing actually scared me. And I haven't felt that at all this year, touching wood again. I'm not a suspicious person. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I feel like I'm jinxing myself right now. But God, I'm so grateful for that. I'm just so happy that that hasn't happened. And I think mainly it's because I haven't set that much pressure on myself, despite the fact that, I've made this giant decision to make art my career. And you would think, well, wouldn't you put more pressure on yourself because it's your business now? That doesn't make any sense. But I like to think that I have given myself a little bit of time, which I've never given myself before when art was my hobby. And maybe that was the problem before, is that all of that pressure culminated in me just not wanting to do it. That resulted in art block, as well as just complete lack of interest. Another thing I really wanted to do was find a way to obviously eventually start making money from my art. And this year, honestly, I'm not going to talk about money, because this was the year where I wanted to put all my efforts into creating a solid base for next year. But, I have been able to make a little bit of money here and there because I opened commissions recently. I've had brands reach out to me too. And I also opened a Patreon in September, October. And yeah, so it's small. Everything's kind of small right now, but I'm trying to make sure that I set up a good foundation for next year. I think that video, I feel like, I don't know if I really believe this or not, but everything I spoke about in that video, maybe I've manifested what I wanted. But I also don't want to ignore the fact that I did work very hard this year and I really put my everything into it. So I don't want to diminish that. It's really funny because when you work a 9-to-5 job, when you finish those hours and you go home, that's when you finish work. But when it comes to doing this, it's like the day never ends. You work way more hours than you would in a normal 9-to-5. And it's important to find a sense of balance. So that's something I kind of need to work on a little bit more next year, because I do find that even though I enjoy it, I love it so much that I do spend more time than I should be. And that kind of work-life balance is kind of thrown a little bit, off kilter. So that's something I need to work on. But for the most part, it's working right now. So fingers crossed everything's going to be okay. social media, this one's been very, very interesting this year. So I think it all goes hand in hand. When you can be consistent with something, then everything's gonna kind of fall into place when you do that. So before, when I wasn't consistent, I would post maybe once a week, and then maybe I'd break for 2 to 3 months and post again. Like, that wasn't obviously working for my platforms. And unfortunately, it is kind of like a rat race in a way, in where you have to be constantly churning out content for the algorithm to favor you. But I think this is kind of the situation we are in now, where if you need to get your business seen on social media, then you kind of have to play to it in a way. And it's just, I think it's managing your expectations and finding healthy ways to manage that. For me, creating all of the short videos was my way of handling that. And to be honest, what I do personally is I just record everything I draw. That's all I do. I don't actually put a lot of kind of filmmaking into it. It's literally just me drawing, and it seems to be working well. So I had been drawing consistently and regularly uploading, and these shorts and reels, some of them went viral this year, and that's kind of contributed to all of my platforms at the same time getting a huge boost in followers and getting my work out there, and in turn has helped me to collaborate with some brands, because obviously they've noticed my work too. It's been a very positive experience having all of this, growth on all of my platforms. Obviously, what comes with that is when you get a wider audience, you'll sometimes get people who might have a different opinion about your art than you do. But to be honest, for the most part, I have such an incredible, amazing, positive community of people around me. So that's absolutely fantastic. And yeah, I've talked about it before in a video where you have to develop a thick skin when you are putting your art out there on social media. There's a lot to be said for that. But yeah, social media has been fantastic. Here on YouTube, I think I started the year, I can't remember, I wish I actually had these stats. I think I had maybe 10 or 12,000 subscribers, and right now I am around 73,000. So that's been a huge growth, and that was actually due to the Barbie movie. Obviously, the Barbie movie was just an absolute crazy phenomenon, and everyone became obsessed with it, and the marketing was just absolutely top notch. They did that so incredibly well that anything Barbie related also went pretty popular too. So I drew a lot of Barbie stuff during that time, and not just because I knew it was popular, but I genuinely did love the movie too. And like I said, I draw what I love. So I draw fan art quite a lot, and when I released those Barbie videos, they actually didn't take off immediately. That's not really how YouTube works a lot of the time. I think it took maybe 3 or 4 weeks after those videos were uploaded that they kind of just all took off at the same time. So that was really beneficial, obviously. And then on my Instagram, on my side account, I think I went from maybe 5,000 to around 77,000 followers, which is very similar to YouTube. It's just certain videos, they get very popular, and I think again it was Barbie and also just random videos actually of me drawing just cute stuff. People just love to look at cute stuff, and I'm happy about that because I love drawing it so much. But yeah, TikTok as well, similar thing. So social media has been a very defining characteristic of what I would consider my success this year, because a lot of good things have come from getting noticed. So yeah, that's something I could talk about in more detail, maybe in a different video sometime, if you're interested in hearing my thoughts about it, but also maybe more the stats behind it, because I am an absolute stat nerd. Like, I just love numbers and statistics. And I did a kind of experiment last year comparing my side account and my main account on Instagram, and I discovered some very, very interesting things. If you would like me to talk about that in a video, I can do that. I would love to talk numbers all day long. Life has been very interesting. We finally bought a house this year, which honestly is the most terrifying and most exciting thing that has ever happened to me, because as an adult, you feel like you have to own a house. I don't mean feel like you have to own a house, but it's a security that you don't have when you're renting. And renting is very stressful, and I don't know about whatever country that you're living in right now, but we have a very severe housing crisis here in Ireland, and renting is more expensive than paying off a mortgage for your house, which is absolutely insane. And the plan was always to buy a house anyway, because we have 2 young children and we obviously need stability. So we finally were able to buy a house, and that happened earlier this year, and we moved in August. And it's been very interesting because the house required a bit of renovation, because to afford something, we couldn't obviously buy a brand spanking new house that was all lovely, and we wouldn't have the money for that. So we have a bit of a doer-upper, and we are in a place now with the house where it's our home, and I'm so happy about that. And I have my own art room, which you may have seen in one of my videos, my little own art studio. Before, I was in our kitchen living area in our apartment, and even though it was really nice to be able to sit there and do my art with everyone else around me, it can kind of stifle your creativity if you're around, well, for me personally, if I'm around a lot of loudness and other things going on, I can't think. So it's really, really nice now that I have my own room and my own space to just kind of be creative and happy. I don't know. I really love it in here, and there's a lot more work that I need to do just in this room, but I'm excited. I'm really excited for what I can bring into this room to make it even happier than it already is. Yeah, we're living out in the countryside, and it's quieter, and my kids absolutely love it, and we all love it here. So it's been a huge boost for my mental health, I think, being here, because in general, I feel much happier and safer, and that obviously has a huge impact on my art. So yeah, that was the biggest change in my life this year. I mean, the rest is pretty much the same, because I've been so busy making art that I don't really have time for anything else in my spare time. So that's pretty much the only life thing that has happened. My plans for 2024. Well, obviously, I've kind of set the foundation this year. I've done a lot of work to kind of bring my art and my business to people's attention, and that's kind of set the foundation now for next year. So I have my Patreon that's up and running, so I'm obviously going to keep building on that, because not only do, I love making content for Patreon, but I also have an incredible community of people there too, and we have a Discord and we share things in there, and everyone's just so fantastic and helpful, and everyone helps each other, and I'm so happy to have that, because even before Patreon was a thing, I always really wanted something that I could create and share with people in a more community-based aspect, because it can be hard to kind of interact with people on social media because it's such a wide space. But having a smaller community means you can really kind of get to know people a bit better and know who these people are, and it's really just really, really nice. So obviously Patreon is my main focus, and then I want to open a shop, and I did talk about this. So I'm going to focus on making stickers, because I make the kind of art that would be perfect for stickers, and people have asked about it before, and it seems just like perfect. So what I need to do is invest a little so that I can create my own, because outsourcing that kind of stuff it's difficult. There's just too many things that could go wrong in terms of shipments, knowing, how many of a certain sticker to get. It's the kind of stress that I don't need when I'm doing so many other things at the same time. So I am going to get myself a decent printer, invest in all of the materials, and I'll go from there. So yep, stickers will be coming in 2024. Other than that, I don't really know, because I feel like things can change very quickly, and I saw that, mid this year when everything kind of went viral, and then I was getting brands come to me because they had noticed my stuff. So I can make plans that I can control, such as creating a shop and, doing my Patreon. But then there's other things that may happen that are good opportunities that I never accounted for. So I'm just being hopeful, I think, that these things will happen and that I'll have the opportunity to collaborate and work with other brands in 2024. I'm saying that here and I'm manifesting it like my last video. If they are the kind of brands who I share similar values with and brands that I genuinely love and use, then absolutely, then of course I'd want to collaborate with them. So hopefully more of that next year. Of course, I'm going to keep creating art. I'm going to keep creating videos. I kind of want to create different type of videos for my YouTube because YouTube's important to me. I've had it for, since 2015, 8 years, let's say. And it was the first platform that I really kind of felt I could come out of my shell a little, even though I'm so nervous and shy and all the time. So yeah, there's definitely work to be done on YouTube, but I just want to bring interesting content to you guys because I know some of you have been around for a long time, near enough the beginning, and I'm obviously very, very thankful for that, for your support. So yeah, I think that's pretty much my recap of my year. I was striving for a good year in which I worked hard, and I feel like I did that. I feel like I can actually be proud of the year I had in terms of my art, but also in terms of my attitude towards it and kind of just my daily personal life, because I just feel like I'm a much happier person and I did the right thing for myself when I made the decision last year to quit my job. And even though I knew it was right, there's always going to be that element of doubt where you really worry that you may have made a mistake if you're not going to make it. And I'm proud that I took that decision because I think things are going well and I think they're going to get better. Fingers crossed anyway. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. It's been, just a really kind of brief recap. It's hard to kind of fit everything in because it has been a very busy year for me. And I could probably talk for hours and you definitely don't want that. So I hope this has been some sort of insight into kind of like just how my year has been and how I felt about it. And I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm wishing you guys the most wonderful and safe 2024. And I will see you there.